Hi, Caleb with Brownells here, and in today's video I'm joined by Mike Mills, and he's going to be helping me put together his gun. Mike, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think you're probably going to be helping me more than I'm going to be helping you put together this build.
I'm just here to observe and hand you tools and criticize everything you do.
I expect that.
All right. So with that being said, what are we building?
So I've gotten a lot into the more scoped carbine, long range precision stuff recently, and it's pretty amazing what you can do with a 14.5, 16, 18 SPR. There's so many different things out there, DMR, SPR, Recce builds, all these things. So I had this idea of like a Recce Plus, right?
Okay.
So taking a 14.5, more precision, heavier kind of profiled barrel and putting what some would say is probably an extreme optic, a Mark V HD 3 to 18 on that 14.5, offset red dot, Recce Plus this thing so we can go from up close and personal effectively probably 650, 700 with a high percentage hit and easily still hit 1,000 yards. We do it all the time with 13.9s, 14.5s, 12.5s out in Arizona at our range. And I thought this would be really cool because everybody always wants that like do-it-all rifle. How many times have you heard that, right?
Yeah,
This is my do-it-all gun.
All the time, yeah.
So I figured let's put that to the challenge and build the do-it-all kind of rifle. You know, if you had one gun, how could you make it do literally everything to max effective range of a 5.56?
All right, awesome. Well said, and I look forward to seeing this thing come together. So let's I guess stop talking about it as much. We'll still talk about it, but let's put it together.
All right, so we're gonna start ADM UIC lower. I love these because they're fully ambi, and it comes pretty much together.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, they have trouble with the small pins, and they scratch their lowers up with punches. So good way to start. I like them, and they're just kind of easy to work with.
Yep.
So it really depends on whether you want to start with the upper or the lower. I like to start with the lower, get that all done.
Same.
But
all right, so
pretty easy.
Yeah, and with that lower, we could start in a number of places.
Mm-hmm.
So typically on a lower receiver, I like to always pretty much start with the magazine catch, but I mean, and then move to the bolt catch, and then move to the pins. All that's already there, right? So.
Yeah. I was cheating. This is my way of cheating.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's I accept that. I'll give you a pass on that because that's a cool lower.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's what the drill sergeant told me once.
That's right. All right, so yeah, from here we could go. We can go trigger. We can go buffer tube. Whatever. So I'll let you decide.
So I'm going to start with the buffer tube.
Okay.
I know a lot of people like to start the trigger, like you said, but
That's a terrible choice. You should start with the trigger.
yeah, I know.
I'm kidding.
So we'll start with our Geissele receiver extension, B5 systems end plate, and then our lower parts kit here. Now we had this discussion earlier about anti-seize and different lubrications and all that stuff, and I know some guys actually like to use Loctite on their receiver extension or buffer.
Stop it, man. Don't say. Listen, there are very few places on an AR-15 you need to be putting Loctite.
That's
The
why I brought
receiver
this up.
extension is not one of them.
Right.
But we can stake it.
100%. That's what I was getting at. We'll have to torque that thing on there, and we'll eventually stake it. And I'm sure you've got a castle nut wrench laying around here somewhere.
I've got a few things. Yeah.
Got a couple of them laying around.
Yeah.
You know how I figure out what that is?
Tell me. Right about.
That
Yeah.
feels about right.
Yeah. So in all seriousness, when you do enough of these, you can feel what
Yeah.
because the torque doesn't have to be exactly 35 foot-pounds or everything goes to crap. You just got to be really close to that.
You just don't want to go full ham on that thing.
Yeah, you don't want to go just crazy on it, and obviously you don't want to go too light on it.
If you torque it until it gets easier to spin, you've probably gone too far.
Yeah,
You've probably
yeah,
gone
that's,
too far,
that's
right?
typically. That's where you can't like undo it. There's no like backing off at that point.
Right. So our pins are already in. We're good to go. We can go ahead and start dropping in our Geissele trigger. Drop that through. Make sure that our springs didn't punch through the same hole that your actual trigger bow is going down.
So it brings you, like this QR code brings you to a list of instructions on their website.
So you can get it all done the first time, right?
Yeah, unfortunately there's no video. You gotta, it's the paper instructions, but in digital format.
It's better than no instructions.
Yeah, it is. Geissele. It'd be cool if this came like to a video.
All right. Push it through kind of fast, and then you get to save that slave pin for later use. Trigger's got nice tension on it.
Perfect.
This is the part that gives people problems when they're putting these springs in. They'll put them sometimes under.
Under, yeah.
So you got to be over the last set, and then you press down and in. Little pin punch.
You need a, yeah.
Right.
I also have a nylon one somewhere, but I trust you.
Just doing a light push. There we go.
Yep, there it is.
Now, Geissele used to give their little trigger juice or
The Go Juice.
the go juice in
Yeah.
there. I didn't see any in there. So
I didn't see any either.
there's
However,
specific locations on the Geissele trigger that they recommend lubrication, which is all the catch points, so all the shiny parts. So you get the maximum Geissele feel
yeah,
out of the
but
triggers.
that right there is the Sons of Liberty Spec 76 grease.
Okay.
As far as gun oils are concerned, it's a little bit thicker than most, so it stays in place a lot better.
Yeah.
So that'll be just fine there.
That's kind of what you want on a trigger.
Yep.
You want it to stay there. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's when you know you have a friend in the world, when they let you borrow their lube.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot we can say about that, but we'll leave it right there.
Right. Turn this a little more this way. So we've got our safety selector now.
And since you're building this to reach out and touch, let's tension the lower to the upper before we put the grip on, since we have that rear tension screw there.
I like where you're going with
Just
that.
to make things a little more rigid.
You want to make it a little bit more rigid.
Yeah,
All right.
rigid's always better.
So we can leave that in there for now. Usually the ADMs are pretty tight, but we are using a different manufacturer's upper on here too. So.
Right. Yeah, it's always good to, it goes back to the whole check your parts thing, you know, doing that test fit. There's a little bit of wiggle there. Yeah.
What size we got there?
Oh, let's see here. Not that size.
It's never the first one.
Yeah, never ever.
It's like wives, it's always the third one.
It's this one. I'm confident.
So this is a finger tight kind of thing here.
Definitely. You still want to be able to take it apart without having to beat it apart. So just nice and snug there. The pins will be a lot stiffer coming out.
Quite a bit stiffer.
All right, perfect. So back to the selector.
Drop that in there. You'll see it when it drops into place because it'll lock up the safety barrel. And then I stage that like that because it just makes things kind of easy. Got your lower in your hand, your spring's ready to roll. Press it right up in there. Your threads will probably go right into place.
And then I feel like this is one of those parts where, you know, depending on whose grip screw you're using, you'll turn it forever and feel like you're not getting anywhere.
Right.
But in most cases you are, because if you seat the grip all the way on, that screw almost lines itself up.
So this is again one of those things where you get about hand tight. You'll kind of, you'll feel it. And then I just check it. We're good there.
Yeah. So this is one of those things, because you're using a polymer grip and that metal screw is crushing into that polymer grip, that polymer flexes and adds a little bit of resistance and acts like a washer to help keep that screw from backing out.
Yeah, and you'll know, like it's tight. It's good to go on that one. And then these new Aero Pro selectors are pretty cool because there's a preset detent in there already in the safety selector barrel. So you just put either your left-handed, right-handed, which side do you want the long side on? I'm right-handed, so I want the stubby side on this side. Where's our...
And you need something.
You hid the punches.
I did.
Hiding your tools on me. I thought you said your tools were my tools today.
They are. I need something to do, and hand you tools is that thing.
So just get this in the light, you press that in there, get down over it, locks into place, give it a wiggle, make sure that detent is seated, and life should be good. Get to the opposite side.
Yep, and there's some pretty like tighter tolerances and positive engagement on those selectors, the way that Aero designed them, so they're not coming off unless you want them to come off.
Yeah, and they have a very tight feel to them.
Yeah, very positive.
Yeah, that's much more positive than a lot of the other ones out there.
Like my mood.
You are a positive
I'm
kind
just
of
very
guy.
positive, yeah.
I like it, but give it a feel.
I will
Try
give
that
it a
one
feel.
on for size.
Oh, that's very positive.
Very positive. Let's stay positive today, right?
All right, yeah.
Can I have it back now?
I guess, whatever. I was going to see what you were going to do. That was a test. You passed.
Right. We're going to put the stock on and see what it looks like. These ones require, let's use that one. You got to work this in there and pull this down.
Do the old lift and pull on it.
Right, yeah. It's a little bit more difficult on these ones when you're trying to get the punch in there than some of the other ones. Go.
Nice and solid.
Yeah, not all buffer tubes are made the same. That's
Yeah.
why I chose a Geissele, because they seem to fit the vast majority of quality stocks much tighter than the other ones. So
Magpul.
yeah, that's our lower.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So now we can. Well, let's do two things. Let's stake that castle nut,
All right.
and then we'll throw the buffer and spring in.
When you stake, just dead center punch, or do you like to angle it?
So I go dead center because that end plate is soft steel. It's going to take the path of least resistance, which is to float into the slot.
Give it another good whack.
I'm one of those people that are super picky about stakes.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things where I'm either going to love you or I'm going to hate you. And this is the defining moment of our friendship.
This
right
is
now.
the defining moment of our
Yeah,
friendship.
this is. We may not even get to the upper. You're getting
A
there.
little bit more.
Listen,
All right.
you're off to a good start.
All right, man. You like a good steak.
This is the only time in
All right.
my life I prefer
I would
steak
call
well
that
done.
good.
You know what? That's a good steak.
That's a good
That's
steak.
I,
All right.
I would run that on my gun. That's
Does it
good.
still need some barbecue sauce? No.
You don't.
Don't put
Dude.
barbecue sauce on a good steak is the
Don't.
answer.
That yeah, I was like onions and mushrooms all day long.
You like the Marsala style.
You know what? Yes,
a
I
man
do.
of culture.
Listen, I'm from the South.
You're a Louisiana boy.
That's right.
I'm an Arizona boy.
Okay.
so-
Well, should have made a gumbo tonight or something. Some jambalaya, some salsa cone.
So we got our H1 Geissele and our Super 42 spring. This is another point where people get interesting and they want to pour a bunch of lithium grease or some kind of their favorite gun oil down in here. I'm a cultured individual. I use dry lube.
Yes. So Mag Slick works really good because that is a dry film lubricant, and that works great. So that's the only thing I use on buffer springs as well.
Okay. I use the spray in. Smells like a sweet cologne. I can't remember the name of it, but it's good stuff.
Okay.
It's works really good, but not a place you want to dump a bunch of wet lube.
Right.
Right. So now we have our completed lower,
All right. So now we can.
and it's function tested.
Yes. So that's another important piece of the puzzle there.
We are good.
All right. Let's move on to the upper then.
There's a secret,
What?
like I said, like when you prep your workbench, you always want to prep a workbench
Yeah.
for your parts and everything. This is how I like to do it.
Nice and
this,
clean and organized is how we do it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
But there is a way to ensure that you know every detent, spring, and everything and what it is when it comes in your bag.
All right.
And that's how you lay it out on the table.
Yeah. Nice and all right.
So
Cool.
if you do it just
I'm
like
gonna-
that, there is no way that you are not going to figure out what each one of these are for, because you're going to have to figure it out now.
I'm gonna
Because
before we're done with this build, I'm gonna throw up at least once. I'm
Well,
just gonna.
the bag just threw up.
Jeez.
I suppose I should put these back.
Whatever. It's
That is not what you're supposed to do. However, that seems to be what happens when people tear into the bag and springs and detents
so
go
I
flying.
got this like high-speed magnetic tray that I just pour
Yep,
everything in, and
100%.
nothing rolls off the bench. Steve doesn't have kittens.
That's what we want to avoid most of all, is watching Steve have kittens on camera.
Watching any grown man have kittens, watching any human being give birth to kittens would be very uncomfortable for me.
But that would give you the ability to do the saying from the movie, well, I have nipples, Greg, can you milk me?
I could, yeah.
That would be the perfect intro to
You
that.
can milk anything with nipples.
Really, Greg, I have nipples, can you milk me? All right, we no longer need the lower setup in there.
We do not.
We can take that out of there. Does that have one of the gas block?
I was just about to say that.
Okay, I was going to ask.
It does. So
Okay.
there's two ways to do the gas block. You have this pretty high speed thing, and then you can hold it vertically in that vise as well, which works pretty good.
I've not used this one before, so we'll hang on to that.
Let's do it.
We'll put that aside for right now.
Okay.
And we'll talk about our upper receiver.
Yep.
We got this Sons of Liberty Gunworks one. They make really good stuff. So I went with the, again, cheating route.
You did, yeah.
I went with the easiest thing possible, which is the Magpul dust cover.
Listen, I'm gonna be real with you though. At this point, I don't understand why everyone doesn't do that.
It just makes life easy because you just press that in and it's easier
Yeah,
than the
yeah.
pins.
No, you're doing great.
Big fingers, small detents. There we go.
Boom.
So instead of driving a pin, or depending on if you have a forged or a billet upper receiver, that just makes life easy.
Yeah.
And you can congratulate yourself because now you got the first part in. You didn't lose a spring, or you didn't have to deal with the spring going in there and all that stuff.
C-clip and all that stuff. Yeah.
Makes it nice and easy.
Yep. So that's a easy way to do it, and it's a good solid component.
100%. So forward assist.
Forward assist.
I
yeah.
noticed you have a really nice
I do.
billet tool over here that
do.
looks like it's going to help.
It is.
I don't have this.
This is my favorite upper receiver fixture, for sure.
The device.
Yeah, the device.
That's got to weigh at least 3 pounds.
It's a heavy duty tool, and I'm gonna be real with you. It's, as far as like the price of tools go, this one's really expensive.
Yeah.
It's not for like I'm maybe gonna build one gun kind of guy. It's definitely for someone who's serious about doing it. You're gonna flip it.
Do we
around.
not have like pins though? Like
No, you don't. So I'll show you what to do. Put it on there just like so. Press it down, and then insert this where your bolt goes.
And it sleeves on there and locks in.
Yes. And it's going to open your ejection port when you push it forward. There you go. And then you can close it again if you want.
Okay.
And there you have it.
That's pretty slick. So I've got from Brownells, of course.
Of course.
The Delrin version with the pins on it, you know?
Yeah, that's not a bad tool.
I've used it for years.
Yeah, that one's just the most solid way to do it.
Yeah. I think I'll be picking one of those up.
Yeah, I would recommend it.
All right. Forward assist time. Well, you know, a lot of manufacturers go to the screw now up there instead of the punch.
Yeah, which honestly I'm not too crazy about. Is that the right size? Is that going to fit?
Nope, one up. Because this is where most people damage their upper receiver.
Oh, yeah.
Hammer.
Yeah, I guess I could get you a hammer.
Tool peasant, hammer please.
Yes, yes sir. There you go.
Very light taps. Make sure she functions. And some people like to put like masking tape or something on the receiver.
Yeah, I'm not about all that.
I just get it to where it's close, and then I switch over to the actual
It's that easy.
punch.
That looks good from here.
Tiny bit sub-flush, didn't
Yeah.
scratch anything. Tools matter, right? Tools matter.
Use the right tools.
So she is good to go. Man, that is
It's a slick tool,
that's
man.
nice.
They make a lighter weight version of it as well,
Yeah.
and it works just as good. But I like the heavy one.
Yeah. Heavy's good. Heavy's reliable.
Yeah, so that one has a 1913 rail on the other side too for
Saw that.
mounting optics. So you just level that instead. Which I don't use that much, but it works. It's all precision machine, so.
Very nice.
And you were
please.
saying something about lapping too.
Yeah, so, and I know some people believe in it, some people don't. The more I've gotten into kind of scoped carbine and precision style stuff, I do it because as long as you do it right, and you don't take off too much material, it's not going to hurt you.
Right.
And although machines are extremely precise these days, this surface against a perfectly machined surface like this one,
Yeah.
and we're going to see, even if it's just the anodizing or whatever it is, we're going to see the difference in how flat this surface is. So if we can mate this surface to the barrel extension surface and have that just as perfect as can be, and some people like to use expansion compounds, some people don't like to use that. I believe these are thermal fit uppers.
Yeah, they're if not,
So-
they're really close to it.
Yeah.
The reason I don't like doing any compounds, like people say bedding the upper, right? Bedding the barrel into the upper. I don't do that, especially on modern uppers, because even if the barrel goes in there a little loose, once you apply torque to it, those aluminum threads will that aluminum shank right there will constrict.
Yeah.
And you'll notice it too if you put any like bedding compound in there. It'll start squeezing out into the upper because those threads are constricting. And so once you put a proper amount of torque on there, there's no need to bed it anyway. Now there are some really old uppers.
Yeah. I've got one where it's just
Yeah, that's another story. But I mean, it's more trouble just to, or less trouble just to buy a good upper
Yeah,
nowadays.
100%.
So
But this is one area in here to the barrel where tighter is better.
yes, absolutely.
So not everything else, but that area right there where that barrel, because the vast majority, if not all of your precision and accuracy is built right here.
Yep.
So your upper to lower fit can have a little bit when you're behind the gun, if it's wobbling around, but probably 98% of your accuracy is right
yeah,
here.
this is the actual like mechanical accuracy
Mm-hmm.
part, and yeah, not so much that upper lower fit because that's on you, right? That's the gun, the upper moving a little bit whenever you're behind the
100%.
trigger. That's not necessarily the gun's fault, right?
100%. And then do you like to put any anti-seize?
I do.
Just
Yep.
a dab.
I'll use some Brownells Action Lube Plus with it's a Molly B based grease, and that's all I use on pretty much everything. So
And we are using a 14.5 barrel from Sons of Liberty and their SPR profile, which means we're going to pin and weld it,
yep,
right, to get to the overall 16. Now that becomes important because gas block comes into play, right? Gas tube,
Right.
gas block. So if you take your barrel down and someone's not thinking and they pin and weld that muzzle device on before your gas block's on there,
yeah.
we got a problem now,
So,
right?
yeah, I've had people in the like bring me barrels in the gunsmith shop, like, oh, I want
Mm-hmm.
this barrel put on my gun. They bring me a barrel like this with the muzzle device pinned and welded,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, dude, I can't get the barrel nut on, I can't get the gas block on. Like, I'm gonna have to cut this pin and weld off.
Yep. It's not fun. You
so-
can save it sometimes, but sometimes it ruins the barrel.
Yeah, it's the last thing you want to do, not the we'll pin and weld last. And if you want to lap it, let's go ahead and lap it now before we put the grease on there.
Oh, I'm greasing the barrel.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yep, you're good then.
Because oftentimes when you get moving, you'll forget to do this on the barrel.
Yep,
So if you do it right now, you never forget.
perfect. I like where your head's at.
At least I have forgot to do it before, and then I pulled it back out.
That's what she said.
Yeah, it's like Vietnam sometimes. Use that old-fashioned birth control, like pulling out.
All right, that's your other quick tip for today.
Other quick tip for the day. So for this, we need... Do we have one of the pin tools for the bottom so we can get that in there?
Yes,
Or,
yes, absolutely.
there we go.
So yeah, we the only downside to the device is that you can't properly use this when you're using a lapping tool. So you have to use something different.
But it's still a very nice tool.
It is, absolutely.
I would be proud to have it in my toolbox.
That makes me more proud to have it in my toolbox.
Right? You should always be proud to have the appropriate tools in your toolbox.
I've had some tools in my toolbox that I was not proud to have in my toolbox.
I think we all have. So an important thing to do if you're actually going to lap this upper receiver is the only surface that compound goes on is this outer edge right here. If you put lapping compound on the shaft of this thing, you're gonna do some damage to that.
Yeah,
upper.
so yeah, we need to be careful now. This we don't want to get this anywhere else.
Yeah, so lubricate the shaft so it spins freely in the upper receiver, and your locking compound goes right here, or you can actually just put it on the actual edge. And then we've got to be really sure to clean all that out of there.
We do.
As well.
Yep.
So you don't need a ton of this stuff.
Yeah, a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, I've had the same bottle of lapping compound for probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and there's different types of lapping compound. You have like silicon carbide, you have like aluminum oxide, different things like that. Typically, when you're working with aluminum, you want to not use silicon carbide because as you break through that top surface of the anodizing, it can actually the grit itself, the small crystals can actually embed themselves in there. So use the proper lapping compound for the job at hand. This Wheeler lapping compound we're using is made specifically for this, so no issues there.
Yeah, it's like 220 or something.
Yeah, this one is a... Yeah, this one's a 220. You could use a 180, a 320, you know, whatever, but this works just fine.
Appreciate that.
You got it. I love sharing rags with you.
That's a lot of drill.
That is a lot of drill.
That's a lot of drill.
Listen, when you need to drill, you need to drill.
Truth. All right. Get this chucked up. So we're also not going to spend a lot of time in here.
Right.
We're going to give it a little go, and we'll back out and look at the receiver, give it a little go, and what we're looking for is just kind of even peel of the anodizing, not like grinding material off of this thing.
And yeah, and as he's doing this, he's going to be pushing forward, applying forward pressure, right? So what he's not doing is he's not letting the weight of that drill hang, because that's going to end up putting more pressure on the bottom. But if he's applying forward pressure with this rod that's guided, then everything's going to go in nice and easy. You can also turn it vertical and do it that way, but it's not absolutely necessary. And all he's looking for right now, we'll show you once he gets there, but he's just looking for even wear all the way around the face of the receiver. I got a good feeling about this one.
Yep, that's it.
Sweet.
So just like your grandfather taught you, always clean your tools. And when you're cleaning your lapping tool, clean down.
Yes.
Don't clean up. Otherwise you're going to put all that stuff up here. So I like to hit these with brake clean too afterwards, from the top to bottom. Just make sure everything's off of there, but we'll do that later off camera.
Yep, sounds
We're
like
inside.
a plan.
We don't want caustic chemicals in our air. That's about what we're looking for.
Yeah, perfect. So
Get
what
that
we
on
can
camera.
actually do, just to ensure we clean that, I'm gonna grab some gun scrubber. All right, so we can hold the receiver vertical. You can hit it with some of the Brownells gun scrubber. And just-
Brownells.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. The Brownells products in the Brownells studio at Brownells. Yep, and then usually, so if you look under the
Paper
table,
towel it.
I keep some air.
Okay. Nice. It's almost like you're a gunsmith.
Almost. I play one on TV. All right, and then optionally, if you want, so that gun scrubber made everything super dry. You can put a coat of rim oil on here, and this will just kind of rehydrate that anodizing on the aluminum, if you will, and you can still put your other lubricants on top of it. There
She's
you go.
good.
All right.
You may have your armorer's bucket back.
Oh, thank you. This
Fine,
is
sir.
my vomit bucket for the next time you pour parts out on the table.
Before I pour the parts everywhere.
Yeah,
Speaking of that, we got 2 lonely parts right there.
we do. Those are bolt catch components there.
Yep, we don't need those. But again, because they were spread all over the table, you knew exactly what they were.
I did. I knew
Because
what
you
they.
played that game before.
Yeah, and you know we also got halfway through the upper before we realized they were there. And they were lower receiver parts because they were poured out all over the table.
Right. So, nice surface there. Good to go. Let's see how tight this fit is.
Yeah, that's
She's
good.
tight.
That's
Yeah.
good.
She's super tight. Whew. She on there. So we got that barrel in there. Just manhandled it in there so it's all the way against the shoulder there.
Yep.
And we'll torque that barrel nut on there.
You know who threaded those?
Who's that?
Tony Sacheries. Because they're seasoned. You get it? It's funny. It's funny because they're seasoned. Tony Sacheries is a seasoning.
Seasoning guy.
Yeah, My kids would have laughed hard at that one.
I got it. I got where you're
I
going.
know. I
with
know
it.
you got it. I just was hoping.
All right, so we're good to go here. Now we get to the gas block and gas tube. Now this is another thing that people talk about right here is Loctite to not Loctite.
Yeah.
Do we use red? Do we use blue? Do we use hot lock? Do we use rock set?
So, don't ever use rock set here. All right, it's absolutely not necessary. If you're gonna use Loctite, use red Loctite, but also know that if you're doing a lot of rapid fire, the barrel's gonna heat up to the point where it's gonna cook that red Loctite anyway. So, I almost never use Loctite on gas blocks personally, or any kind of thread locker.
And since it's dimpled, you can line the gas block right up easy like that.
Yeah, and if I'm doing like a gun that's going to be what would be considered like a duty weapon, right? I would pin it.
Yeah, but there's people in the precision world that will tell you
Don't pin it.
when you drill that hole through the side of the barrel, you're changing
The
how
harmonics.
everything's going on there in that barrel.
Yep. Yeah, you definitely are. That's a fact.
Yeah. And we have a definite torque spec on these, 35 inch-pounds, if I remember.
We can do 35, yeah. So that's the torque spec is for the most part based on the screw diameter, and that looks like a 10 something screw, I would assume, as far as like screw diameter goes. So yeah, 35 inch-pounds would be just fine there.
That's generally what many of them call for.
And that'll go on your driver right
I
there.
need the rest of the...
But it'll go on your driver.
Oh, you use this?
Yeah.
Oh, there's like a little T.
Yeah,
in
you
there
can use the
usually.
T, but I feel like that's just more comfortable for the most part. But that's a personal preference. If you want to use the T, I'm going to let you use the T. When
35 inch-pounds.
When your head was tilted over, it took everything in me to not just wet willy, just
Yeah, right. Yeah.
straight in.
You got to take those moments when they
I
come.
restrained myself.
You got to take those moments when they come.
Yeah, but Steve hits me. Steve hits hard for an old dude. I tell you what.
Right?
All right, so I'm gonna get some of this stuff out the way here.
So now we are down to timing the muzzle device. See how close we are.
You got a little ways to go.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, you can go a little more.
She's super close.
That's it right there. I'd say you
I think it
can.
needs a tiny bit. Yeah, it needs like a tiny
Ooh,
bit.
okay.
Tiny,
Yeah.
tiny bit.
Give it a little touch there.
Just a tear. Just a
And
touch. We are
so-
going to reach 35 on this one.
So 30 is also okay. So you can even back it off to 30, and see if you're there.
No, it needs to go.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, but like back it off to 30 and then go the rest of the way. No, don't take it off.
You said back it off.
No, I mean like back the adjustment off to 30. Like
Oh, to see if
put
I'm
this
at-
on 30. Yeah,
I was like, what are you talking about backing things up for then?
because I'm stupid. I'm just kidding. I don't really think I'm stupid, y'all. I have a good, healthy amount of self-esteem.
A healthy amount of self-esteem.
Healthy. Yeah, not too much. I'm not like, I don't think I know it all, you know? I'm just gonna stop talking and we'll get back to gun. Look at that. Ooh,
So it's
yeah.
at 30,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
it could go a couple more degrees to be
Okay.
perfectly timed.
Perfect. So now we know we're gonna be between 30 and 35 when you give it that last little bit, and that puts us in the Goldilocks zone. I just watched Twister recently, so.
You know, I almost watched that on the flight. It's very close to perfect. Right at 35.
Yeah, very close.
Tiny bit, but that tiny bit's not gonna throw us off enough to matter.
It's very, very close. So we can leave it there. It'd be perfectly fine because it's, I mean, looking at it right now, it looks fine. And you'd have to like really dig into it to see, but
You'd have to straight line it.
yeah.
Like it's like a degree off.
Yeah, so we can definitely roll with that.
I like it,
Yeah.
It'll work for me.
Especially for a flash hider.
especially since it's gonna have a suppressor on it most of
Yeah.
the times.
Suppressed.
Suppressed.
It'll
Even though the patent is silencer.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can call it whatever we want.
I watched the Brownells video on that once.
It's true, yeah, there was a video on that.
So there is a way to cheat your rail installation as well, right?
Nope.
Oh yeah, there is.
Nuh-uh.
Uh-huh. So there is a little bit of movement,
Right.
right? And we center this rail with these side screws.
Sure.
But the way to cheat is to get you a QD mounted pick section
Oh, okay.
right across there, so you're perfect every single time.
I see where you're going. I like what you're doing here.
Anytime you can get a little bit of extra for free, you do it, right? A little bit of free help.
$70's a lot, by the way. That's almost 6 foot-pounds.
Yep. There we go.
Sweet.
And then our secondary little minis here are just finger tight. On these ones for this rail, it's important that you don't crank one all the way and then go to the other, because
Right.
that'll actually cant your rail.
Yeah, you gotta
So
feel it.
Sometimes you actually need a little bit of a flashlight to see down in there. I'm actually just going to take that off. And you feel it just make the contact, and that's enough.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Yes. Nice and smooth.
Yeah, it looks good.
The cheat method.
Yeah, there you go.
The cheater method. So we're torqued up here. We're torqued up here. Our upper is looking good.
Awesome.
And now we got a pin weld.
We got a pin weld.
14.5 with a muzzle device to get us to 16.
So we can, yep, so we definitely got to do that. Let's go ahead and mount our optic since it's on a QD, we can take the optic off to pin weld and then put it back on,
Yeah.
just so we get it on there.
Levels.
Levels.
We need some bubble levels.
Yeah, so I'll try to get on your level here. And it's funny because they're most levels. There's one. Here's another. This is a Starrett one. That one's really good.
That's going to be good. We're mounting a 3 to 18 on here, so knowing the size of the center section on that optic, I think one slot in the rear is probably where we're going to have to be to have proper spacing. But
Yep,
we're going to find out.
That sounds right, yeah. But we'll.
We's going to find out.
We can certainly check.
And since it's QD, mistakes are easy to fix. See the size of that?
It's like it was made for it.
Fits almost perfect, but a really good starting point for a scoped carbine is to have the end of this optic about square with the rear here, because we've got very little movement in here. So if we get this about flush, generally a Picatinny rail slot is going to give you about 1/4 of an inch-ish eye relief. So if we start there, it's better to move the mount than it is to pull the optic out of the mount. So square the optic in the mount, fit it where it's there, and then you can move that back and forth.
Perfect.
That's
Yep.
what I like to do because it saves time and thread locker. So we'll just snug these to fit it. We'll get into our thread locker here in a little bit because I can see the armor over here reaching for it already. What's your favorite thread locker?
My favorite thread locker is none. Just good old fashioned torque is my favorite thread locker.
There is an argument for that.
Yeah, but I guess
It depends on what though.
yeah, it depends on a lot of things. So for example, if I'm doing a good old fashioned bolt gun or something, I'll stick with blue Loctite, and I'll only Loctite the bases to the action. I won't put any Loctite on the rings. But it's all circumstantial.
But there's also like a specific manufacturing product with each fastener that is specific to make sure that it doesn't need a thread locker. Like
right.
engines, race engines, there's no thread locker on most of those parts. It's all torque.
Gotcha.
Right. So depending, there are thread locker on certain things, but for the most part, it's all torque spec. So fit that up. Need to go a little bit forward.
How far?
About meh.
Okay. That's another technical term.
Yeah.
Equivalent to like a smidge.
Yeah, equivalent to a smidge or something like that. All right, now depending on what kind of levels we're working with here, some people believe this and some people don't, but believe it or not, these high-end scopes, for the most part, this turret is super flat.
For the most part they are, and if you ever want to double check it, you can put a straight edge going across the bottom and then just double check it to the turret.
They also make those, like Arasaka makes one,
So
where you slide that in there.
yes.
But the mount could not be perfect all the time.
Right. So yeah, that's a good point too.
So our problem here is this is all cattywampus.
So there's another word.
Cattywampus.
Cattywampus.
Cattywampus. Which means it's completely off kilter.
Yep.
Which is another word. We are not square.
Yes.
All right, so we do have
We do.
things up here that we can use to get this upper receiver set.
Boy, do we.
So break out your most favoritist one.
So this is a tool that's pretty decent for mounting scopes. I'll just put it over here.
Just put that anywhere.
I'll just put it. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I hurting your tools?
No.
Is this in the way? All right. So, let's plop it on up.
I've not used this one, but
So we're just gonna kind of
okay.
press that in there.
And this is like a ratchet system here.
Yeah. So we'll get it like close to horizontal here. Yeah, and that's good. And then you can also,
We don't want to crush the thing, but we need it in there fairly tight.
yeah.
So let's
I got another plan here.
move that thing forward.
So we can move this whole thing. So if we put this on these flats here, and then I'll slide this back. Man, look at us go.
Look at that teamwork. Much more stiffer.
All right.
Where'd you push the levels off to?
I don't know, man. And then you have this thing back here. And you can fine tune that mofo.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
That's aggressive right there. I like that.
I think you got it. Oh man, it's moving like crazy.
I wonder why. We'll just put that now to keep some force on it. And we'll dig out the other screws that you buried with this thing.
No, man, they're in the bin, the tray.
Oh, you put them back
Yeah.
in before you moved it. All right.
Come on.
Good work. Good work.
Come on, man.
Good work. So you
That's it.
pulled out our thread locker already, right?
Amateur hour over here, sure did.
All right. Just feels a little light.
Yeah, it's because of the leverage you get with that curved angle.
Yeah.
It always feels lighter with that one.
Definitely a lot different than my. I got the fixed sticks too. I love those because of
Yeah.
how compact that kit is.
Yep. Yeah, this is the one I always take everywhere because of its compact nature.
Right. Right where we want it.
Well, that's great.
So we're torqued. Here's your bubble levels,
Oh,
Mike.
thanks.
Both of them. Pretty clean looking.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
So we can get on to the rest of the accessories. All right, so we've got all kinds of goodies
Yeah.
because who wants a plain Jane rifle?
Not me.
Not me at all.
Taking
And
my.
since our primary optic here
Right.
is a 3 to 18, we want a little offset action. So for that, we've chosen an offset Arasaka mount and an aim point acro.
That's still nice and clean. That's good.
Yeah, it's on the rail fully.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to run into problems with the setup like that.
Well, especially with the red dot and the range you're shooting at, and the deflection is going to be minimal because you're right at the pivot point rather than being further out. So I feel good about it.
Oh, I feel more than good about it.
I feel great about it.
I like where it's going all day.
It's about the destination, you know.
True.
Just take that time to appreciate where it's going,
True.
whether it be conversation or otherwise. I feel like we're getting too deep now. I'm just gonna get back to the thing. Thanks.
The thing.
Yeah,
Like
this
Austin
is
Powers deep, like deeper, like how does it feel, baby?
so. It's been so long since I've watched those movies because like my wife's not a fan,
Yeah.
so I just have to something I got to do by myself.
So since there was a metric buttload of thread engagement there, and this is so big, I'm going 30 inch-pounds on that mount.
So I often get made fun of in meetings for using butt load or butt ton as a measurement. So I'm glad someone else does it. That's not
Yeah.
just me.
No. It's definitely a well-used word, at least in my knowledge.
Yeah, me too. Which is minimal, but
So I think that is about right. Because you can put that on there either way.
right, yeah, you can.
But this gives us good access to our controls. Everything looks good to go. That's where we'll mount it. Watch out. Excuse my muzzle. Now I know most people don't like this, but
You know, you do you.
I feel that this screw needs a thread locker on it. Because I have seen a lot of acros walk off with not only pistols but rifles.
All right, well, we don't want this thing just walking off.
No. No.
What torque did you want on that?
I think they're like 12 or 15 inch-pounds on these
Okay.
cross sections.
Well, here's a 15.
And the instructions, or destructions as you would like to say, are right here. So
Right.
we're going to look.
Sure, if
Because
that's
aim points are not cheap.
if that's the thing you want to do,
If you want to just wing it,
if that's how you want to spend our day following instructions.
following the instructions.
Our time together is limited, and you're just like, let's read instructions.
Yeah, like, oh, let's read instructions.
You must have been a ton of fun on your wedding night. Let's read the instructions.
That's a good one.
What is it? I just made it up just now.
That was a
Yeah.
good one.
What's the instruction say?
Well, it says to install the sight, loosen the screw using a T10 Torx and the aim point tool, clamp the locking bar around the dovetail interface.
Okay. What's it say about torque?
Tighten screw until light resistance is encountered and proceed another quarter to half a turn until fully tight. Max 3 Newton meters or 2.2 foot-pounds.
That's like 20 something. Whatever. I'm just happy to be here.
All right, she's on there.
All right, cool. So,
Let's clean up our Smurf mess over here that you put on the bench,
if
so I don't
you
put my hand in Loctite.
if you insist.
Messy.
Look,
Messy.
look at that cleanup.
Messy.
It's like it was never there.
Messy.
So much drama over so little. All right, so
We got a cloud light.
cloud
We
lights,
got our cloud inline mount.
cloud inline mounts.
We've got a little cable management should we actually need it.
Should we need it? And also, these cloud mounts have the button mount has a cable management built in.
Yeah, so these are the new ones with the much smaller button.
Yep.
As compared to the old ones. So that gives us our tightest fit.
Yep.
And then we'll turn this around so the wire's tucked right behind there.
Perfect. man, almost put my hand in that Loctite somebody spilled on the table just now.
Yeah, somebody spilled that stuff there. See if that caught. Sure enough. So, tucks that in there real nice. So back in the day, before all this cool stuff, and I'm sure you remember this, there was a whole lot of rubber bands on rifles.
Yes. Yes, there were.
And there's still a place, right? I still do rubber bands in certain places to do that final cable management, you know, to where you just can't seem to route something and you just need that tiny little bit of extra hold. That's not too bad.
Nope. That'll work.
Right where I want it. And you can
Sweet.
still reach over and hit the button if you need to.
Perfect. All right, so use some of that table Loctite and put this bad boy on. What suppressor are you putting on there?
I've got a couple of different versions with chemo mounts on them.
Yep.
I've got some from AB, which I've been really happy with, and then the Dead Air Sandmans. Then I got a couple that are coming in that I'll probably try because, you know, the suppressor search is like never ending.
Yeah.
Lowest back pressure, best sound. You're always fighting that battle, right?
Yep.
So
All right, cool.
we got a bolt and everything to put in, but let's
We do.
put away these tools.
If you insist.
And we will go ahead and lube the appropriate areas of our bolt before we drop it in there.
I'll clean up this table tight.
Clean up that table tight. Now this is another thing that everybody's got their own opinion on when it comes to lubrication surfaces in an AR. So when I first build a gun, the charging handle, I just get it super wet to get up in there in that valley because there's a lot of anodizing is going to come off.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of movement in there, grinding, you know, a little bump and grind in there.
Ain't nothing wrong with a little bump and grind.
Bump and grind.
Yeah.
So we'll get that over all the areas we think we're going to need it. And when I'm running a bolt for the first time, I generally do the same, right?
Okay.
But we have our run surfaces,
Right.
right? So your key areas, the front and back of both run surfaces, run around in the bolt a little bit. I hit the lugs for the first time they're engaging in there.
Sure.
Up on the cam pin because that will make contact in a lot of uppers.
Yep.
And then I like to hit the sides of the gas key too because there's some contact in there. But the rest of the bolt, I've seen guys just pour lube all over back here and everything. It just doesn't need it.
Right. Agreed.
But the first time I'm running the gun, especially a fresh build, I like to run it wet because I want to give this thing the best opportunity there is to function appropriately and wear itself in, right? So
Yeah.
I'm generous in this bolt area. I'm generous on the run surfaces. I'm generous across the bolt lugs, and then I just kind of wipe it all down on these areas.
Yep. That's
And
some solid advice.
Would you say that is Smith Busters worthy?
Smith, but well, so what would the myth be?
That some people are, oh, I never lube mine, it runs just fine. There's other people that like, I run it so wet that you could, you know, basically oil your friend's AR if you took his bolt out and sprayed it with it, you know.
Yeah, so we did a little bit Smithbuster stuff on AR bolt lubrication. Especially like, for example, the people they'll take the time to take the bolts apart, lubricate everything, put it back together, then dump lube into the vent holes.
Yeah, the vent holes.
The vent hole.
Vent
Why are they
holes.
called vent holes?
Right there.
Yeah, the first round that goes through that thing, everything you put in there is coming right back out those holes.
So believe it or not, I've actually been to AR courses where that was taught.
So here's the only scenario I see that, you know, being a thing is whenever you don't want to take your bolt out your gun for whatever reason, you're doing something, you know, whatever. You can dump oil in those, then cycle it, and it'll move around in there It's still going to blow a lot of it out, but you can lubricate a little bit of the inside of the bolt that way. But if you're taking the time to take the bolt out and take it apart, it's so redundant to do that.
Yeah, and then say your rifle's already together, you're out on the range and you don't have time to, break this down. All you do is hit those surfaces, because those are the run areas, right? And then you lock that bolt to the rear, and you do the same thing on this side.
Yeah.
Either right through here, right? You can hit those areas, and then you put one drop up in the valley for the charging handle, and you're going to be good to go.
Yeah, perfect.
So she's together. We got a full ambi system here. Make sure that works, and then test the trigger.
Yep. Reset sounds good. All that sounds good.
Actually feels pretty smooth for first run. You're not getting a lot of that grinding or twang in the buffer tube.
Yeah. So
I know it doesn't matter, but I just hate that sound.
So
You
I picked it up like a lefty, and then I immediately just put my giant greasy thumb on the back of your optics. So you're welcome for that.
get out and do some push-ups.
But yeah, other than that, it feels great.
Like drill sergeant used to say, push.
Push.
Get on the ground, push.
Yeah, that's what I told my wife when she was in labor. Here you go.
Oh, dear God, you're an animal.
Yeah.
There's just one last thing.
Oh, the battery.
But I think we're technically supposed to charge this battery all the way before putting it in there and using it.
All right, well then,
Because you can ruin your batteries.
there's the charger.
We're going to plug that in later.
We still got to do a pin and weld.
Yep. And I believe you're going to do that, right?
I, or someone I know, shall do that.
We've got someone real close by that's a friend of Brownells that can
We
probably
do.
that.
Yeah. The man called Yeti.
The man called Yeti. I like it.
Yeah, I like it
So-
too. Came out great.
Not only is it a very good looking rifle, right, but especially with this loophole makes amazing scopes. You can hit steel at 1,000 yards guaranteed with this gun. I'll guarantee that right now.
Okay.
You're going to have not 100% hit factor, obviously, because that's beyond the max effective range of 5.56. But this is probably, when we do the math on a ballistic calculator, do the chronograph, probably 650, 700. And in a decent wind caller with a good spotter, you'll probably have 70% and above. You should probably be 80 to 90% at 650 to 700. And then once you start reaching out further than that for fun, right, because now we're in transonic zone,
Right.
we're in the fun zone, very, very capable optic. I'm assuming, knowing Sons of Liberty, their barrels are very good. This is the 416 RSPR barrel, supposed to be built for accuracy. And then when we want to do that up close and personal stuff, say we're at a training course, we're in close, we've got that aim point right there that we can go offset with, do everything. So, in my opinion, if you want a do-it-all rifle, this would be my example of a do-it-all rifle.
Awesome. Yeah, I would agree with that, and I like this one because it's a good, unique setup, right? You didn't just throw a LPVO on there and call it. It's good. I dig it. I'm excited to see what you do with it.
Yeah, and one of the, and some people would refer to this as a Franken gun, right? Because we've got Sons of Liberty bolt, we've got ADM UIC Mod 2 lower, we got a Geissele rail, we got a Sons of Liberty Gunworks upper and barrel. But oftentimes a manufacturer, no matter how good they are, they're not going to give you every single piece that you want. Like, I love the K2 grips. I like the Geissele URGI charging handle.
Yeah.
These grips or these stocks. I love the UIC Ambi lower. So when you do a build, you're maximizing what you get and you're minimizing your wasted money.
Right.
Because
Agreed.
if I were to buy a rifle and then, oh man, I didn't like the muzzle device. Now I got to find somebody that's going to remove that, pin weld it. Oh, that charging handle, it wasn't ambi. I want that safety. I want the different safety. Oftentimes people will spend $300, $400, $500 more changing stuff on a rifle that they bought, when if they can build it or if their friend can help them, you get everything you want the first time and you don't waste time and money.
Yeah, so there you have it. I mean, you just did the whole Smithbuster episode of why it's better to build than buy for a custom gun anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's all there is to it. If you have any questions or comments, or if you thought of a last minute ear joke, or lack of neck joke, then feel free to post them in the comments down below. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
I do think your ears are bigger than my traps.
I accept that.